Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all the news from Star Citizen from the week just past. I am your host Mac, so let's get on with it. This week, CIG test out increasing the player cap, plus Todd Pappy sits down to answer all of our questions. So before we begin, I would just like to say a huge thank you to my new patrons, Dan Robertali, Craig, Huttich and Space Kiwi. Thank you guys so much for your support. It is all very much appreciated. You guys are awesome. If you do enjoy my content and are interested in supporting my channel further, be sure to follow the link to my Patreon page below. So this week saw the return of Star Citizen Live, and it was with Todd Pappy answering all of our questions. So the first couple of questions were to do with server-side object container streaming. First one being, over time since the release of 3.8, the AI have become a bit shit again. Is this due to server-side OCS? And he says, yes, it is a server issue. It is due to the server frame rate. When it runs at the correct frame rate, the AI will run correctly. With 3.8 being server-side's or SOC's first release, they will continue to update and improve it. Not sure if a fix is coming in 3.8.1 or 3.9, but there will be improvements in each. The next question on SOCs was, how happy are you with the initial release? Now, Todd said he's about 50-50. They were happy that they got it working and got it out the door, but there's a lot of gameplay ramifications that they want to fix, one of them being the server frame rate. 3.8.1 is in progress and coming soon, which will have a few new fixes and such. Whether this fixes the frame rate, as we say, he didn't mention. Next question is, will we see some attention in making fixed weapons a more viable option, as right now AutoGimbal seems to be the obvious choice. Now they have this new vehicle experience team which are focused on these issues, in particular combat and the overall experience of combat, like missiles, turrets, balancing, components and how they all play together. It is a big focus now. Something they did actually mention at CitizenCon though was, in regards to AutoGimbal, was that it was created to appease the rubber banding and lag issues, and they will readdress the AutoGimbal once the server networking rework is done. So basically they kind of brought in AutoGimbal as a band-aid for another issue, but they are not sure as to whether it has a place or not until they get the server client issues resolved. Now I am expecting them to remove it, as people won't struggle as much once the networking is fixed, so fingers crossed. This is a skill-based game and I stand by it that they shouldn't have AutoGimbal, although I'm sure a lot of you disagree. Do let me know in the comments. Next question is, do ship upgrades actually do anything in terms of stats and so forth? And they say yes, they do. All of the items have pros and cons. For example, a more expensive cooler could cool items faster but pull in more power, requiring a better power plant. What they want to give us is a way of comparing each item so that we can see the difference. They also want to add some UI with proper stats broken down that will allow us to help compare things. They're trying to find time to create this. The UI team is currently busy with the visor rework for FPS and for ships. And also this does probably play into the new vehicle experience team. Someone asked, can you clarify what platform persistence means in terms of server wipes? Now basically it means the wipes will be less frequent than they are now, but they will still need to be able to wipe the servers if there are any issues, like if an exploit is found, for example. Now CIG do not like wiping the servers so often, and they know that we hate that, so this should help extend the period between wipes, but wipes will still happen throughout its development. Now the extended time between wipes will also help CIG to test mid to long term goals, rather than just always short term goals, as the servers will be wiped less. So for example, how much UEC can the average player earn in 6 months rather than 3 months or less, which will really help aid in balancing, which is some interesting information I never really considered. Our next question is, what are these 30k errors? Now the 30k error means that the client lost connection to the server or that the server has crashed. The 30k error code is basically a catch-all of a large amount of various issues, pretty much issues that don't have their own specific code. So the more specific we are on the issue council reporting when a 30k error occurs, the more that they can begin to narrow down specifically what that issue is and see the patterns. Apparently on Reddit, someone thought that the 30k was kind of a feature and couldn't understand why CIG would keep it in the game going forwards, as it's a pain in the ass. It is not a feature, it is an error code, and it will continue to be an error code while the game is being developed. It is something that CIG are working to eradicate as much as possible, but it is not ever one bug. It is often many server issues which are very non-specific. Will we see any quality of life patches for 3.8? And yes, there is a 3.8.1 in the works, which will fix a few things, but anything missed in 3.8.1 will be addressed in 3.9, so there will not be a 3.8.2. Now, I do wonder if this has anything to do with the Cutlass Red set for January, the Carrack for February, and the Prowler for March. Maybe when those ships get dropped, it will be just the ships, no fixes, or they might have changed their minds on that. We'll have to wait and see. Someone asked if CIG are testing and monitoring the economy, as it doesn't really seem very dynamic, and they say yes, they are monitoring the economy and its telemetry constantly, but the economy currently is all hand done. Now, Tony Zurevek's Quanta, which we heard about at CitizenCon, this is the dynamic economy system. This will help change all of this, but as of yet, there is no word as to when we can expect it. Will asteroids get updated to make the Argo Mole more useful? And they say yes, they are evaluating the placement of asteroids. 3.9 will see adjustments and more content for mining on Microtech and its moons. They need to go through and change the asteroids to be more like what they want them to be, but they still need to work out what Star Citizen's asteroids and the asteroid fields will be like. So how do they look compared to real-life asteroid fields and other films and games? So it sounds like there's still a few things they need to work out, but it is in the works. Is there any progress on spawning vehicles in vehicles or on vehicles? Now, apparently Chris Roberts wants this done this year. This means the Pisces taking off from the Carrack, the Merlin undocking from the Constellation, and even the Caterpillar module or command module detaching. So not just ship-to-ship docking, but also ships transforming into two. They say Chris Roberts wants this on the cards, so hopefully we'll see that updated on the roadmap. Whether it gets done is another thing altogether. Someone asked why there were no outposts on Microtech. It's basically they just didn't have time to place assets on Microtech, as they had to redrop every asset on the older planets and moons with the introduction of Planet Tech version 4. For 3.9, this will bring the new moons and New Babbage, which is Microtech's main landing zone, as well as more points of interest. Now they have Planet Tech version 4, they hopefully won't have to go back and do it again, because there isn't going to be a version 5. This is now the kind of the final version of planets, the back-end tech anyway, and they will just create them using this new tech. Trading is painful with the current bugs and such. Will this get attention? Now, they know about the many issues which make it difficult to trade. They need to switch the Mobiglass over to building blocks and update each Mobiglass app. Once this is done, we will be able to use the Mobiglass more efficiently in many areas, not just trading, but things like having the information of each location on the star map available, as well as trading information and prices and so on. It's interesting to hear them talk about changing the Mobiglass to building blocks. I'm really looking forward to when they convert everything. It should be a lot more stable, far less buggy, and user-friendly than the current Mobiglass. But it also could mean that we could get new apps and improved the old apps and open the door to more immersion, which is exciting. Someone asked actually just about cargo in general, what's happening. Now, they are very much not happy with it right now. They have created an actual one standard cargo unit box, but they just don't have the cargo jack or multi-tool function to move them around. They need the iCache before they can do the cargo work they have planned. Otherwise, they will just have to do the big rework on it later on again. This basically allows for persistence. So basically, cargo and trading is a major staple of the game, and they know it's important. iCache is scheduled internally for the next 2 quarters, so once it's done, it should really help in this area. Someone asked if they considered missions for criminals to take out bounty hunters, sort of hitman missions. Now, it's not something they've been looking into, but focus is now on bounty hunting and the delivery missions, so getting them to the gold standard, and they will look into this a bit more because it does sound quite interesting. Will we be able to transfer UEC between players? Someone asked, and they do want this. They did say that part of this requires the building blocks conversion for the Mobiglass as well. They said it would be part of the contracts manager, but there is an accounting app apparently coming set for 3.9 on the roadmap, which I would have thought would be more appropriate but obviously the roadmap is old news right now, so we'll have to wait and see what happens when this gets updated. Someone asked about looting players or other people. They do want players to be able to loot each other when you've killed them or taken them down, as well as NPCs, and then sell the goods, but he didn't give us any more information as to what current stage they're at or when we can expect to see it. Someone simply asked turrets. Now there are some improvements for 3.8, but it is still a bit of a struggle. Partly this is why they created the vehicle experience team. They need people to focus and work on it. So hopefully now that they have this team, it'll get some attention, especially if they plan to expand the turret gunner role for multi-crew this year. So fingers crossed it just gets done. Will we be able to have tools to aid us in flying through bad weather or low visibility? Now, it's not something they have spoken about, but they will bring it up at the next ship talk. They'll need to work out what is needed, what is wanted, how it could serve the gameplay, and what it'll take. They want players to think about whether they should even fly through bad weather, or instead maybe take a ground vehicle approach on foot, or even maybe send in a drone first to gather information. I do like the idea of having readouts which tell you the current weather type and let you decide if you feel competent enough to fly through the weather. But on the same token, I do love the idea of the weather being so severe that you have to land and go in on foot or in an Ursa rover, for example. So maybe having both would be useful. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on having tools to help us in this. I don't know what sort of tools we'd have. Obviously, altitude, the real altitude would be useful. Changing the ship's loadout is a bit poop at the moment. Are there plans to make it easier? He did say that the ship spawn terminals will be getting a store button, which will remove your ship from the landing pad, put it into storage, and then allow you to access your ship's customization system on the mobiGlas. That, I guess, is a short-term fix. I'm hoping with the new building blocks, it'll be a lot more intuitive when it comes to upgrading your ships. So we'll have to wait and see when that gets fixed. We can't sell orbital stations. What's happening here? That will be fixed soon. Why can't we re-enter our HABs once we've left? Now, it's because they're not persistent to players. So it does sound like full persistence is kind of needed here. Hopefully, once we get full persistence, it might allow us to start buying and renting apartments or even hangars. That would be very cool. And then finally, why did you lower the rewards for bounty hunter missions? Now, they said payouts and such for all missions are all in flux and being balanced constantly, so you'll just have to bear with them while the game is being developed. Anyway, that was it with Todd Pappy. Some really good information there, but a lot of areas that I wish he just got into more detail as to where they currently are, but some exciting things coming down the line. So earlier this week, CIG reopened the PTU to test an increased play limit. Here is what they said. We are opening a special PTU with the player cap increased to 60 from 50. This is an experimental setup and the build is identical to the live build, just with 10 more players. Our goal is to collect performance and stability data while making additional cap adjustments, but any oddities that you see would be helpful to know about as well. Please reply with any issues, new performance bottlenecks or negative impacts that are new to the PTU and not currently on live. Please include screenshots and videos where appropriate. It's important to note that this is merely a test and is not representative of any definitive incoming changes. And then an update for afterwards is the test is complete. Thanks for participating, everyone. We got a lot of very good information and are combing through it now. So we have no idea exactly how well it all went or whether they want to try and increase the player cap further, but I'm sure sometime in the near future we will hear more on this. This was due to server-side OCS being implemented, and Chris Roberts did say during CitizenCon that they will begin experimenting with the player cap to see how far they can push it. This isn't going to allow everyone on one server, as that is server meshing, but hopefully if they can increase the player cap to 100 at the least, then that would be great, so long as the frames and bugs remain as they are now and don't bring any new crazy ones. Now, as soon as we get more information on this and how it went, I will let you know. But unfortunately, I wasn't actually around to take part in it. Do let me know if you did take part and what you found. It's quite exciting to see them increasing the player count. So also this week, it was announced that Calling All Devs will return, in which our upvoted questions get pitched to the appropriate developer, which is great news. It's a really good show. Jared is now currently gathering questions over on Spectrum,
The show might not be called the same, but the format will be the same. The roadmap update this week was pretty non-existent. The only change was the Argo mole being altered to completed, as it is now flyable. I'm expecting sometime this month we will get the new updated roadmap with the addition of 4.1 and 4.2. I also expect there will be big changes, so what we currently see on the roadmap is kind of obsolete. They are currently working it out, and I'm excited but very apprehensive at the same time to see what's changed. As usual, as soon as we get the changes, I will get my weekly roadmap update video out letting you know exactly what has changed, so be sure to subscribe so you hear as soon as I do. Finally, there was a new portfolio post highlighting Chemline Solutions. All the links are in the description below should you want to check anything out yourself.
So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it and share the video with all your friends. If you like what I do and want to help me make it better, follow the link below to my Patreon page to learn more.